And now, my friends, time to saddle up, quite literally, a couple of westerns on the way, and talk to our favourite each and every Friday, our main man when it comes to Freeview film recommendations, Van Connerow. Van, Friday might say, with 3 of his favourite films from the weekend and 3 of mine. Good morning, Van, and how's your week been, matey? What have you been up to? See many new movies?
Do you know, loads of great new movies. There's a movie out, like, today called The Menu, starring Ray Fiennes, and it's so quirky and weird that just to tell anybody about it feels like spoiling it. Just, if you need a movie to see tonight, go to a cinema and see The Menu, honestly.
You need to cram your cinema going in probably between now and the next few weeks because of the World Cup on the way. But let's park the World Cup for a moment. Let's talk about your first recommendation, a rather good, rather gritty thriller from not so very long ago. Tell us why you've gone for Law-Abiding Citizen.
Well, I'm a huge fan of Law Abiding Citizen. So Law Abiding Citizen is this sort of forgotten 2009 thriller by F. Gary Gray. You know, the guy that would go on to direct, little movies like Straight Outta Compton and one of the Fast movies. I think it was Fast 7, actually. The Italian Job remake before that. But of course, this is, for my money, Gerard Butler's best role. I'm not even kidding. I'm going to throw my hands up and say Gerard Butler has a best role. And it is in this movie. It is in Law Abiding Citizen, in which he is a man whose daughter is murdered by evil scumbaggery types who get let off by the system. And he then gets locked up for murdering them. And it very quickly emerges that he's actually not just some regular dad. He's actually kind of a genius dad, and that all of the Machiavellian schemes that he has stored don't include him being locked away. So he can do anything he wants from the comfort of a prison cell. This is an absolutely bonkers movie. It's best described as Saw, but where the killer is actually in the Hannibal Lecter cell. So this is on Great Movies tonight at 9 o'clock. I love this movie. Jamie Foxx is the district attorney who kind of is our hero, but also kind of not. There's Leslie Bibb, Bruce McGill, loads of acting talent that you just know from great for the adult thrillers, which this nicely harkens back to. This is an amazing movie. I love it. Have you seen this, Paul?
I have. I did enjoy it. I mean, it was kind of what might have happened to Charles Bronson had he been a tech expert and been caught during the Death Wish films. It's that kind of vibe, isn't it, to an extent?
Exactly. It's basically what would happen if Charles Bronson was, in fact, Edward Snowden.
Yeah, exactly.
This is on, like I say, tonight. Great movies, 9 p.m. I've got a clip for you just setting up the mayhem to come. This is Gerard Butler in fine fighting form.
Enjoy. Not for the screamish, but a good film. Here we go.
I'll keep my head up, and you will end this.
I'm just getting warmed up. This is Von Clausewitz. Total war. I'm gonna pull the whole thing down. I'm gonna bring the whole diseased, corrupt temple down on your head. It's gotta be biblical.
It's going to be biblical. We love hearing that in an action film, do not. So that's 2009's Law Abiding Citizen.
Oh, yeah.
9 o'clock tonight, great movies. I've gone for, my first of 2 westerns of the weekend. This is one of 7 films at Randolph Scott. A great kind of craggy-faced, taciturn western star made with Bud Buttischer. This is part of what they call the renowned cycle. It's the most bleak one of all. It's called Ride Lonesome, and in it Randolph Scott pretty much does. He's bringing in a criminal to justice. Of course he is. He stops off at a kind of station in the middle of nowhere. Of course there's a Native American uprising on the way. People have broken the treaty. Great casting. It's a very, very young indeed James Coburn. Lee Van Cleef, very young as well, pops up in this. It's from 1959. The gorgeous and very glamorous Karen Steele's in it as this kind of femme fatale at the heart of it, for whom the leader of the Native Americans, their chief, has developed a huge passion for, and he wants her basically as one of his various harem of women they talk about. It's a bit politically incorrect in that way. You've also got, though, turning up this, a man called Pernell Roberts, who was, for years, one of the biggest stars in American television because he played the oldest brother in the Bonanza series. He was Adam Cartwright. He then went on to play a grown-up version of the Trapper John character from the MASH film and the MASH TV series for something called Trapper John MD that ran for 7 or 8 years in the States. Never troubled the telly box over here.
The spin-off.
Yeah, but it's a huge star in the States for Pernell. In this, he plays a kind of good guy, bad guy. It's always a bit morally ambiguous. It's that time when Western started to kind of grow up, heading towards the 60s. I absolutely love this film. Bud Buttischer directed it, written by his regular writer, Burt Kennedy. Very spare dialogue, very sparse dialogue. And the trailer doesn't give too much away, apart from the fact that we know there's trouble coming. There's trouble coming because the brother of the guy that the bounty hunter Randolph Scott is taking to justice doesn't want his brother hanged. There's trouble because the natives are getting restless. And there's trouble because lust is rearing its ugly head. Head. Ride Lonesome is on Great Action, 1 o'clock this afternoon, 2 o'clock, of course, in Great Action Plus One. Make sure you set the record for it. You will not, my friends, if you love westerns, be disappointed. And here's a clip when Lust is rearing its ugly head in the Wild West.
She's sure something, ain't she? She's the kind that's got a need. Deep, lonely need that only a man can get at.
Now, how do you know?
I've seen in her eyes, Rick. In her eyes.
We're moving out. I'll be riding you, Dunn.
Well, what am I supposed to do?
Walk.
I don't think so. You let me go. You don't, I swear I'll cut you in two.
At the end of this film, there's one of the bleakest scenes ever, or certainly the bleakest settings for a scene, in this kind of tree in the middle of nowhere, which is going to be used as the hanging tree. Intrigued you will be, I think, on this one. And you want to talk boots in your Saturday recommendation, but not football boots, of course, rather kinky boots, Van Connor, you saucy devil.
Well, I've not seen Ride Lonesome. You finally caught me out on one of your westerns. Usually
gotta catch this one. If you've seen the other six,
I've not seen that one. I'm definitely catching that one. Kinky Boots, however, which is my pick for Saturday, 9 o'clock on 5 Star. And this is Joel Edgerton, Jemima Rupert, and of course, none other than Chiwetel Ejiofor. And it's based on the true story of the drag queen who came along and saved a fledgling Northampton shoe business by effectively having them make effectively drag queen boots, boots that a man could wear that had feminine elegance, and the whole thing was make them red, as Chiwetel Ejiofor tells us. It's a brilliant movie. It's one of those movies that you get those very distinct. I think it is a British cultural thing. Those movies that come along and they're not really about anything spectacular, but I'm thinking of The Full Monty when I say this. Those movies that just inspire you with that working class spark that does genuinely give you. It's our version of the American dream. It's our version of, do you know what? You just rise up, work up. You can make this work. And I absolutely get this is our version of the American dream, same as Full Monty was, only ours takes place in a Northampton shoe factory involving red vinyl and none other than a drag queen named Lola, played by Chiwetel Ejiofor, who I think the same year that he does this goes on to become the villain in Serenity, which is like one of my favourite movies ever. I adore Chiwetel Ejiofor. I'm a big fan of Joel Edgerton. I think this is an amazing movie. I was shocked to find out in hindsight that Richard Curtis somehow didn't write this because it feels like one of his. But do you know what? I'll let the clip speak volumes for you. This is Kinky Boots. This is on tomorrow night, 9 o'clock on 5 Star. Absolutely check this out.
Kind of modern day alien comedy, a bit like Brass Stuff, a bit like The Full Monty, just as good to inspire the West End musical, of course. It is Kinky Boots. It's Van's second pick of the weekend.
What do you think?
Burgundy. Please, God, tell me I have not inspired something burgundy. Red! Red! Charlie boy! Rule 1! Red!
It's the color of sex.
Burgundy is the color of hot water bottles. Red is the color of sex and fear and danger and signs that say do not enter.
All of my favorite things in life.
So he wants some red, he wants some thigh high, he wants them with a big heel, and he wants them in size 12. That's Kinky Boots pretty much summed up for you. They're great.
Don't we all?
Great fun film. And I've gone for a film that everybody thinks they've seen and remember, but actually when you watch it again, it's far darker than I think the musical soundtrack might lead you to believe. It's on 11:20 tomorrow night on Film File. It's a breakthrough role really for John Travolta. We made a couple of films before. He stars as one of the bad bullies in Carrie. I think he made The Boy in the Bubble, a sort of made for TV film. This was followed by Grease, made one of the biggest stars on the planet for a couple of years, released in 1977. It is, of course, Saturday Night Fever, and there's a very gritty urban side to this film, isn't there, Ray? It's much darker, I think, than people might remember because of the Bee Gees soundtrack.
Yeah, I think people do remember Saturday Night Fever because of the soundtrack as being a way more poppier, more upbeat movie than it is. And it's a lot closer to, again, going with the British-American parable, going with something like a more traditional British kitchen sink drama than I think mainstream American popcorn audiences were used to at that point. Very much fit into the new renaissance of the late 70s.
Saturday Night Fever, as you might expect, is heavily laden with that. I think the best-selling film soundtrack of all time still is that kind of sort of Bee Gees' greatest hits with a couple of other songs sprinkled into it there. It's on at 11:20 tomorrow night, film 4, Saturday Night Fever. Go on, get dancing.
He's very good, yeah. He's the best. Hey, man, he's great. He's the king out there.
John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever.
She can dance, you know that? She's got the wrong partner, of course, but she can dance.
Okay, listen. I like it. We could dance together. That's it. We could just dance together and nothing more, nothing personal.
Spawned one of the strangest sequels of all time, of course, which was directed by Sly Stallone, Staying Alive, which is a good bad film, if you like. Have you seen that ever, Staying Alive, the sequel to this?
I have absolutely seen Staying Alive, and I will defend Staying Alive. Do you know what? Sly needed those directing gigs, and if we hadn't had Sly getting those directing gigs, we wouldn't have necessarily had Rocky Balboa, in 2005. So, got to give him that.
Marvellous stuff. Okay, let's go on to my final recommendation. It's Sunday, of course. Now, I've recommended this film before. I make no bones about recommending it again. Although the competition was tough. I could have gone for, on ITV2, 620, 633 Squadron, the Second World War movie. Cliff Robertson, George Chakiris, from West Side Story, of course. And it's the theme music to this, I think Bolton Wanderers still run out to. Could have gone for 5 stars, Django Unchained. Kind of a dodgy film because of the Tarantino collection in some ways. That was 10 o'clock though, Sunday night, if you like that. If you've not seen it, well worth a look. But I've gone for one of my favourite westerns of all time, even though it was made in the last few years. Made in 2003, starring Kevin Costner, directed by Kevin Costner. Also got Robert Duvall in it, one of the roles of his lifetime. It is, of course, on 5 Action, 6:10 Sunday evening, Open Range, a modern western. How many times have I recommended it? We've been doing this a few years now, Van. This must pop up as my recommendation, once every 3 or 4 months?
Oh, absolutely. Open Range, though, to be fair, it's a banger, and it absolutely falls within that pantheon of essential Clint Eastwood movies, especially after, like Unforgiven. Yeah. Because it kind of feels like a sort of chapter footnote on the end of Unforgiven in a strange way. And also, it's got Kevin Costner doing quite a good performance as a very kind of troubled, a Civil War veteran with an undiagnosed kind of PTSD. So basically, he's got shell shock, he's traumatized, and he's got a propensity for violence, which he has real trouble controlling, which means the final shootout is an absolute belter. So it's 6:10, it's 5 Action, it's Sunday night. Here we go. Let's remind ourselves just how good this western is. Men are going to get killed here today, and I'm going to kill them.
Most time a man will tell you his bad intentions if you listen. Let yourself hear it. You reckon them cows worth getting killed over?
Cows is one thing. But one man telling another man where he can go in this country is something else. The lawman who sat in that jailhouse sort of sneering sticks in my craw.
Whole town knows there's a fight coming. They just hope it don't spill over to them.
Baxter's men bushwhacked our friend, shot him dead, shot a 16-year-old boy, too, and clubbed him so hard he might not live.
I got no problem with killing bombs. Never have. Men are going to get killed here today soon. And I'm going to kill them.
And he does. Okay, that's my final recommendation. That's 5 Action on 6:10 on Sunday night. What's your final recommendation? It's a 4-letter word, one word, first letter B, last letter L. It's Bill. Tell us more, Van Connor.
I mean, I'm still getting over just hearing Kevin Costner in full movie star mode, because it is inspiring, isn't it? Like, Kevin Costner, you forget what movie stars used to feel like. I'm going to talk about Bill, though, which is on, of all things, CBeebies on Sunday at 10:40 in the morning. Like, this is what you put on at 10:40 in the morning on a Sunday on CBeebies for the kids, and you sit there and you enjoy it with them. Like, this is the ultimate dad movie. Like, this is, let's sit there and enjoy Shakespeare, clearly from the guys, and I mean all of the guys who make the Horrible Histories movies. Right. And it's lost even though it hasn't got the badge on it, it very much is a Horrible Histories movie. You've got Damian Lewis in there, you've got a whole star cast, includes like, Helen McCrory, loads of people, Ben Whishaw, people like that. Just an incredible, Simon Farnaby, just an incredible roster of talent who just show up giving it the full Mel Brooks as we get what is effectively the story of Roland Emmerich's Infamous from 5 years earlier. Not even 5 years, I think this was a year earlier when it actually came to release. And yet, theirs is so much funnier and weirdly truer to the fact. So, I'm going to give it over to Horrible Histories, well, their crew at least, and Bill, which you absolutely have to check out on Sunday morning. If you want something, if the TV is doing nothing on Sunday morning whilst you're cooking brunch, just put this on, entertain the kids, and have a couple of chuckles yourself, because Damian Lewis on his own will make this worth it, I promise. So Bill, CBeebies, Sunday morning, 10:40, check this out.
A quality offering, CBeebies, first time that's been recommended as a channel to watch, courtesy of Van Conovan. Before we hear the clip, tell us how we can hear you and your off-screen podcast. It drops later on today, I think, does it not, for the weekend?
You can hear us at 8 a.m. on podcast platforms, myself and Adam Ball. I'm on social for the rest of the day on 15 Second Cinema, giving 15-second roundups of the movies of the day.
Marvellous film. It's called Bill. It includes a plot to blow up Queen Elizabeth I. I know, how very treasonous. And it's on CBeebies on Sunday morning. Enjoy. Cheers, Van. Let's end with a bit of Bill.
I'd have to stop for a portrait, but, mustache. Do look me up if ever one of your armadas pans out, and I'll take you out in London. My treat.
I'll be sure to pop it in the diary.
You seem very chipper for someone being robbed.
No, it's just I'm a little bit excited. You see, I'm interested to see how you're going to get out of this one.
It's a round room, no corners, 2 exits. Not exactly holding all the cards there, Phil.
Have you forgotten the first rule of espionage?
No. Always hide in plain sight.
Mr. Hawking.
In equal measure, one for the kids and one for these slightly hungover dads as well. Cheers, Van. Let's do it all again next week, mate. That was Van Conovan, mate. Off screen drops the podcast at 8 o'clock this morning from all good podcast providers. And Van's back with us next Friday, so make sure that's an appointment to listen on talkSPORT and talkRADIO, where, my friends, we're live till 5. The play's the thing.
talkSPORT live.